All right. Welcome back in.
All right.
Welcome back in to the illustrious Three Strands studio. We still have Robby here, and if you heard the episode last week where, there was some tears, there was some laughter, and then in between there's some more tears and laughter, and now I think we're all back on an emotional level playing field now. We can maybe
I don't know. I'm still a mess, but
right?
It's fine. Everything's fine.
It'll be fine.
It's
good. Everything's fine. I'm fine.
It's fine. It's been an interesting week. So this week is a hard and a good time of year every year for us, because 2 years ago is when we saw our oldest grandbabies for the last time. 2 years ago this week is when our grandson was born and then died 31 hours later. And then 2 years ago this weekend was the first time that baby Eden, who Cameron and Dylan have and helped foster some, that we had her for this first weekend. So just an emotional roller coaster of a week every year and trying to get through that. But last night was such a beautiful night. Every year we've started a tradition of we set off lanterns for Wolf's, remembering Wolf, and light them on fire, and we write little messages to him and they float off. And so it's always a sweet little time. So,
and no, he's not lighting the lanterns themselves on fire.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it happens.
Sometimes that happens.
If the wind blows too hard. Yeah, it could.
It's like a hot air balloon, just so everybody can get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so since we knew Robby was going to be in town, I asked him if he wanted to jump on the pod with us, and he graciously obliged. And so we had his testimony last episode, and this episode is episode 32. And I said, what do you want to talk about? And so he sent a couple of options, and I said, well, we're just going to do them both. So episode 32 is going to be the sacred versus secular divide, and then the first century church versus the Western church.
It's a doubleheader?
Doubleheader all rolled into one, but we're still going to be under an hour. That was Robby's stipulation. And
what were we last week?
Last week was 57 minutes.
Oh, no, really?
Wow.
Boom. Bam.
Dang. Robby said, watch this. Pow.
He said, hold my sweet tea.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so the sacred secular divide and the first century church. So I think this is interesting, because at first I was like, man, where is this? And so it really is. It really is kind of the same thing, because the secular divide exists.
It's easy for you to say.
Because of how the church has evolved, right?
Yeah.
Like there wouldn't be a secular sacred divide if the first century church was still the church we were in today.
Right.
So that's how I want to set this up, so it makes it easier to talk through this. So from the mindset, think about it. So on Sundays, I'm in church, I'm an elder, right? I'm a minister, all the things. But Monday through Saturday, I'm a sales guy, and I travel and I do things. And that's the mindset that we have, right? That they're two different things. And the reality is they're not. It's exactly the same thing. I should be the exact same minister of the gospel Monday through Saturday everywhere that I'm at. And we talked, when the kids were on with us, we talked about marketplace ministry, which is Robby's thing. Like Robby is very much about marketplace ministry, but I think this also falls into that in line with that it is marketplace ministry. So where does the divide come from, sacred versus secular? So let's start with that.
Where does it come from?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
I think you're the guest. Yeah, go ahead.
Get it, Robby.
Do it, Robby.
I think it's evolved over time.
Mm-hmm.
I think and what I mean by the secular sacred divide, I believe that life is sacred 24/7.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there are more people who are going to work Monday through Saturday than there are going to church on Sunday. And I believe that as a believer, it's my responsibility to go out and to minister to people throughout the week. I'm going to meet with the body, the fellowship, and what I get on Sundays, and serve whatever I'm doing on Sundays. But I'm there to be trained. Okay, what I'm being trained to do, I'm there to go out.
Come on,
and
sir.
then I'm there to use what I have gotten there to allow the glory of God to shine through me. So let me just kind of set up the way that I believe. And you don't have to agree with me, but here's
if I don't, I'll tell you.
Okay, you tell me. But I've heard it said different ways. But I believe that every single one of us, and here's the way I describe it. I believe that every single one of us have the same purpose.
Well, that's dumb.
And you got to let me finish before you say stuff.
Oh, sorry.
Then
Yeah.
say it.
I'm sorry.
Jump the gun again.
So I believe we all have the same purpose, and that is to glorify God through our lives and to bring Him glory through our lives.
Okay,
I believe
that's
that
not so
how
dumb.
I believe how we do that is different, though. Like your assignment and how you bring God glory may be different than my assignment, and my assignment may change over time based upon God's leading in my life and the door that He may open. Like when my first assignment to give God glory was through music.
Right.
I was on the road doing music. My second assignment to give God glory was through the church and being a business administrator and taking care of the operational side of a church. My third assignment was I was a CEO of a holding company called New Life International. My fourth assignment was as a coach and business consultant. And so those are really the assignments that I've had in my life. But every single assignment I look at, I can see now, and I talked earlier about looking back at something. I can look back at my life when I started, out of high school, right? So in 1982 was when I graduated, and it's when I went on the road and started the music. I can look back now and say, man, I see how God used the music to transition me into the operational business side of church. Wow. I see how God used my music and the operational business side of church to bring me into the CEO position that I was at for almost 10 years. And wow, I see how God used the music and the operational side of church and the business that I was in, this being the CEO of a company, to take me into this coaching and consulting where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
But I use all of that, and I say that to kind of set up. It's why I really believe that all of my life is sacred, because whether I was on the road, I was allowing the glory of God to come out, not just on the road, but when I was at home.
Yeah.
And I was in my town and meeting people within my town and ministering to people within my town. I was doing the same thing when I was on the business side of church. Even though it was on the business side, I was constantly out in what I would call the secular marketplace, is what people call the secular marketplace. And when I was CEO of the company, I got to work with so many different people and people who weren't believers. And the way that I did business, the way that I handled myself, the way that the fruit of the Spirit was coming through me, right? That had a way of helping to bring transformation. I say transformations to business people I work with all the time. I'm like, listen, it's profits, people, and places. When you realize that your entire life is supposed to be sacred and there isn't this divide to where I'm a business guy Monday through Saturday, but serving the church on Sunday. No, you are a servant of the Most High God 24/7, and your life is sacred 24/7, and you're supposed to allow God's glory to shine through you 24/7. When you realize that, it'll change the way that you approach people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It'll change what you do. And I tell them, I said, they say, oh, it's going to change my profits. And I'm like, I'm not saying you'll make more money, but it'll change the way that you view what you do with the money that you do make.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And you'll be
100%.
looking, it'll change places. Yeah. I said, wherever your offices are at, the community that you're in, it should be different.
Yep.
Because your business is there, or because you're an employee there. And the people that you interact with, they should be different because they're interacting with you. People are like, how do I even get started? I said, just start with the fruit of the Spirit.
Yeah.
If I went to your place of employment and said, hey, tell me about Brian, would they say Brian has joy? Would they say that Brian is peaceful? Would they say that Brian is patient? Would they say that Brian is loving? Would just go ahead and name the fruit of the Spirit.
Right.
Would they say those things about you?
Right.
And if not, let's just start right there.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Because if we could start there,
Mm-hmm.
and if I went and said, hey, tell me about John, they'd be like, oh, man, that guy's loving. Man, that guy's so patient. Man, that guy's so kind. That guy's long-suffering. Man, that guy just brings joy. Man, when I go into his office, I sense peace.
Mm.
How much would our workplaces or our businesses change if that was what people said about us?
And you know what the funny part is that's not going in there and taking the Bible and beating them over the head.
Right, 100%.
That's just living the Christian walk.
It is.
And to that point, when Jesus was looking at the disciples there at the end, he gave them the Great Commission. Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel. And the thing about that is he didn't say, hey, disciples, you guys go into the world and preach the gospel. That was a declaration to all Christians who come thereafter, go into the world and preach the gospel. And preaching the gospel is that inconsistency, living the life according to the fruits of the Spirit and things such as that.
Absolutely. Now, as far as where I think that transition happened, I think it was over time. I think by the 3rd and 4th century, there was a Greek philosophy that began to take place.
Yep, that's exactly where I was going.
So the Greek philosophy, it placed an emphasis on the sciences and the arts, and those things began to be separated from people's worship life.
That's right.
And it was all in the 1st century. It was all centered.
Hebrew worldview.
Yeah. So and then you go from there to Constantine, and Constantine basically said, we're going to pass this edict to where Christianity is now. You can't persecute them anymore.
Do you have a copy of my notes?
I do not.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. I don't.
Wow.
Throw that into the trash.
So then you had it was more commercialized. You had all these basilicas and all these big cathedrals and different things were built. And when they built those cathedrals, it's interesting to me. Right now, what are we doing?
Sitting around a table.
This is what the 1st century church did.
Mm-hmm.
We're all sitting around a table. We're looking at each other. When it became more of the basilicas and the cathedrals and those different things, what did they do? They sat and they faced looking forward.
Mm-hmm.
They were looking at the man.
Yep.
They weren't looking at each other and having fellowship, and the emphasis went away from the sacraments and the meal together and the fellowship together and you having a word and you having a psalm and you singing to me,
Yeah.
And then us sitting around and talking about that, it went from that to looking at the man.
So we lost the relational.
So it carried from there, and then I think when it came to the West, and oddly enough, I think I went and saw a movie. It was Whitefield. It was a movie about Whitefield recently. Is it George Whitefield?
I don't know what movie you're talking about.
Okay, so it was the colonialization of America, and it showed Whitefield coming over from England, and basically,
George is right.
yeah.
George was,
So
I think that's right.
he came over from England, and when he came over from England, he basically started these big revival services, and he was very charismatic, and so I think some of it came from that as well. And then I think some of it came from the industrialization age that we faced, and everybody started moving to the cities. But I think the biggest thing is when we became, George Whitefield. I think the biggest thing was when we became an audience and looking forward to the man who was bringing the word. And then it started a hierarchy system, I think. And I think some of that happened through Catholicism as well, that was tried to beat back during the Reformation. But I think that's the biggest turning point that I see, is when we got out of what I would call the house to house, that they fellowshipped, and when you look at the church in the book of Acts.
So let's take a step back. I want to go back to Genesis, because you literally did just follow the whole first page of my outline, which is hilarious. But Genesis 2:15, the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. So the sacred part was the secular part It was all the same thing. There was no divide, right? Work was not the curse. The curse was the toil and the thorns and the thistle, right? It wasn't. That's what the curse was. It wasn't the work. The work was part of the sacred. And you're exactly right. It's the Hebrew worldview versus the Greek worldview. There was no separation at all. It was all the same. Everything that you did was about the Spirit, was about church. It was all part of the same thing. And then the Greek comes along, and the Greek starts separating. And then there's classes of people, and the laity versus the pastors and the preachers and
Clergy, yeah.
the clergy, and they become a different level, and they're elevated, and they're on a platform, and they're on a pedestal. And so I think that is kind of the first place where we start seeing it separated. Before that, to your point, to Constantine, the Edict of Milan is where Christianity became legal, right? That's in 313 AD, and that's where everything changed. And Robby and I talked about this a bit today when we were going to lunch, but prior to that, Christians were persecuted.
Mm-hmm.
And once the persecution ended, then it changed. It changed. People are not you don't have to be as serious about your faith if there's no persecution about it, right? It's not the same. And so I think that was definitely the main place where it started. And then the mindset shifts from, okay, there's all the believers to now there's a royal priesthood. There's people who are much more elevated, the liturgical side of it, right? The root word for liturgy is liturgia, and it meant the work of the people in civic life. The people are the actors, not the audience. So I think that's really where we start to see the big shift of that. So I'll pause there, and if you guys want to jump in, feel free to.
Well, I think the clergy part of it, and the reason I know some of this is I've researched some of this stuff for the last several years, and some of it was because I would go up to, I work with business people all the time, and I can't tell you how many business people say these two things. One of them is, man, I can't wait till my business gets large enough to where I have time to go do ministry. And I'm like, bro, we've been working together for like 3 years. And I talk about this all the time, that your business is where God has you to minister to people right now. Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. No, let's talk about it. I said, because I think you're saying that here, but you don't believe it down here.
Right.
You don't believe it in your heart. If you truly believed that God assigned you to those people and you were supposed to be ministering to those people Monday through Saturday, if you truly believed that, you wouldn't say, I can't wait till I can get away from this to go do ministry.
Yeah.
So I began to have these conversations with people about really making it more than, because most people, if I talk to them about this, they will agree with me intellectually. I mean,
right. But the follow up into the actual belief in the heart is not there. I believe I heard it said one time, we need to learn to grow where we're planted. In that to that same point, because I've been in this bus business now for 28 years, and there was times where like, gosh, I just want to be at church, right? Why am I out here with all these hoodlums, living that lifestyle and not living, never mind.
Amongst the lifestyle. Thank you. Not what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas lifestyle. But no, living amongst that. But then the little times of, sitting up front, driving in the middle of the night, and then all of a sudden door opens up and here comes a crew guy at 3:00 in the morning and everybody else is in bed. Hey man, you actually believe that Christian stuff you listen to on the radio? Why? And the doors that are opened up, not from beating somebody over the head, but just living and listening doing my own thing. You know what I mean? And being content wherewith I was at with the ministry that God gave me. But the problem was, honestly, at that time, I didn't look at it as that. Yeah.
Be faithful with the little, right? I mean, so many times we want to skip over that and we want to go to what it is. And in our minds, that's the little right now, because we're not full time in ministry.
Right.
Again, with the air quotes, right? Which means I'm not paid as a job to be a pastor. so many times that's what we look at as full-time ministry, but the reality is we're all in full-time ministry.
Oh, 100%.
Within your family, within the
that's
job.
That's a whole rabbit trail too. But to talk about pay and all the things that but it's a valid point.
That is a dividing line.
It is.
I think that's a dividing line here as well.
Mentally,
mentally
in our society.
Yes, mentally, it's a dividing line of that's their job. That's what they're paid to do.
That's right.
I go to work Monday through Friday, so I'm not supposed to go out and proselyte to these people. I'm not supposed to go out and talk to these people about Jesus. That's their job. Mm-hmm. No, their job is to train you to go out and do it every day.
Well, and the equiping piece. So the Ephesians 4 is an interesting thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's a mindset shift. And I don't know where the definitive time that it happened was, but Ephesians 4:11 and 12 says, so Christ himself gave the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the pastors, and teachers to equip his people for works of service so the body of Christ may be built up. So the old mindset and the way that the 3rd, 4th century church really preached that was gifts given to do the work of the ministry, right? That those 5 were the ones who did the ministry, and the real meaning of that is to equip the saints for the works of service,
right?
And we see those 5, right, as the class above. They're the ones who are doing the work of the ministry. And that's not the reality. We're all doing the work of the ministry because those offices should be equipping us to do the works of the ministry.
And if I can jump in something that you had said earlier, Robby, about it shifted when the basilicas and the big churches came and everybody looked to one man, and then with that came the human aspect and the one man, like being the one man being looked at, and then I think and again, just. My buddy at work, he always prefaces everything, in my opinion, which is hilarious. But no, in modern day, we have gotten so far away from discipling the flock. In other words, it's Sunday school classes. That's a hot topic for me. Sunday school classes. Nobody wants to go to Sunday school anymore. They want to go, early if you have a coffee shop or get donuts, whatever like that, but nobody wants to go to Sunday school anymore. Nobody wants to be taught to be equipped. And then there's also leadership. I am just saying in general, for anybody who's listening, it's in general. I'm not saying anything about a specific church. Thank you. I have to say that. Isn't that sad that I have to say that? But there becomes this mentality. I don't want you to know what I know.
For sure.
Because then maybe you wouldn't be dependent on me, and I wouldn't be able to stroke my own ego. But when the fact of the matter is, we should be equipping and teaching to send others out to go. And
which is why then the clergy was educated and the people were not.
Correct. Which is, which is why some religions, there's no Bible. The head is the one who has the Bible, and then they just print you out a verse and give you a piece of paper, and here, this is what you're supposed to read when you're supposed to read it. Kind of a thing. Did any of that make sense? Huh. I hope so.
There was this, I think there was this shift that happened, and it, like I said, it happened over time, and I think some are shifting the other way now, but that shift came in to where there was a focus on attendance, okay, and listening to the pastor, giving, and then program participation. And it's almost like and I'm not against any of that, but it's almost like that became a self-consuming machine that people are like, oh, that's what church is. Now I've got this job I've got to go do.
Right.
And then I come back and I attend and I, listen and I give and I participate in missions, or maybe we go out and feed people, right?
Right.
But I don't do any of that on my own Monday through Saturday.
Because I'm not a preacher, or
Hold on.
I don't have the title.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't think that it is because of that. I think that is the culture that's being created, so it's normal. That's just the way that people think.
Right.
I mean, think about it. Even in you go into churches, right, and you'll hear people say, "Man, it was all I could do to get in here today." And we've all been there. right? Because I'm so drained from the week that I need to come back in here and get filled up.
Right.
Are you drained because you've been pouring out so much in your fruits that to give those to everybody else? Or are you
Probably
drained
not.
because you've let the world beat the snot out of
Right.
you, and we're going back in for our own selfish reasons of getting the feel-good message to be able to go back out and get through the next week? That's a shift in the church, I think, if I'm understanding right, of what we're talking about here, is versus a shift in I'm going to go equip myself on how I can be
Right.
effective for other people, and not coming in on Sunday so I can be filled up, so I can go out and recharge myself. Yes, we need the recharge, but if we're not equipping us to go out and make other disciples, we're failing the ultimate call.
It seems to me that there was this transition to challenging people to go out and be Jesus Monday through Saturday. It changed from that to we equip them on how to invite people to church.
100%.
That is great. Yes, sir. That
Because we're really good at that and I'm talking about the Western church. We're really good at training our people to invite people to church, but not so much about training them to invite people to Jesus when they're out in the marketplace from Monday through Saturday. And I'm not, when I say the marketplace, hey, that can be a stay-at-home mom. You know, it can be,
Yeah.
it doesn't, and not necessarily just talking about someone who's working a job.
Correct.
I'm just talking about when whatever you're doing, maybe you're retired, maybe you don't work, whatever you're doing, Monday through Saturday, it needs to be all about how does God get glory from what I'm doing today?
Well,
Even
it's
the canasta game on Friday night?
That's
Yes,
right. It's
absolutely.
Colossians 3:23 and
100%.
24. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. And to your point, Jeremy, that's exactly, we've so gotten in the mindset of I'm going to go to church and I love worship because it makes me feel good. It refreshes me. Worship is not meant for me to feel good. Worship is what I do as a reasonable and rightful service to the man who died on the cross to save my soul. Right.
Now, one benefit of it is being in his presence. You do
100%.
feel good. That's a benefit.
But if the
of it.
mindset is going
Correct. I'm going so I can feel good. It's the difference of I'm going to go do this so everybody knows that I do it. But the Bible also says if your right hand does good, don't let your left hand know. Right?
Well, it's even the mentality sometimes that goes with church is that I have to go back. I have to be at church to get filled up, not to where I can go and be a kingdom changer. It's I got to be filled up to where I can go and make it through.
Yeah.
Until Wednesday, and then go get me a little sip on Wednesday if they have a Wednesday service, and then go back out there, and then man, Sunday's coming, you know?
Yeah.
So it's this mentality rather than, hey, you're here and we're equipping you to go out and change, be an agent change, an atmosphere changer, and let people experience God's transformation through you. And you're going to feel so jazzed. You're going to want to come back and say, let me tell you what happened, you know, in Monday through Saturday this week and what God allowed me to do through what y'all teach me here.
Yeah.
You know,
living paycheck to paycheck spiritually is what we're doing.
Yeah. Right.
So let me read. I want to read this scripture, Brian. You read one a moment ago, and I had written this one down. It's one of my favorite ones. So it's Matthew, in Matthew 5:16. It's like, let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to the Father who is in heaven. If you look that word works up, it's ergon, which means business, employment, that with which one is occupied, that which one undertakes to do, an enterprise, an undertaking, any product, whatever, anything that can be accomplished by hand, by art, by industry, by mind, an act, a deed, or a thing done. The idea of working is emphasized in opposition to which is less than work. I mean, when you really look at, I mean, it kind of takes a different thing. So let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works. That's talking about the work people do Monday
Yeah.
through Saturday.
See, that's why in studying the word, what I love so much that has changed my life is that very thing. Is when I'm reading the word and I see a word as in works, my curiosity, which I love, gets the best of me. Like, okay, what I think I know what works is what he's talking about here, but what does he really mean? So then that's when, go into the original. Okay, what is that? And then how it completely changes the whole context of the entire verse. And it's like, oh, I get what he's trying to say here. And then you read Colossians, workers unto the Lord. That is one thing that my dad taught me. A lesson on. My dad worked for the government for years. He was a civilian contractor on a military base in Maryland, and they always would work a lot of overtime. And when I was a kid, I'd get to go work with my dad. Free child labor. It was great.
It's the best kind.
But it was awesome. I mean, I got to drive forklifts. I got to do cool things, and I thought that was awesome. And it was a good time. But I'll never forget, we were in this one building, and it was overtime. It was after hours, so it was 5, 6, 7 o'clock at night or whatever. And it was like this, for lack of a better word, it was like a barn. I mean, it's a military army building, for crying out loud. There wasn't much to it. But they had these big tables, looked like where they played war games, and strategic planning and stuff like that. Well, we were in there and done this work, and then we were sweeping up the floor. And again, this place looks like a barn. I mean, so I'm like, okay, Dad, we can stop sweeping now. I mean, all we're doing is pushing the dirt on the floor around it. We're not going to be able to get any more up because, in essence, it's like that's what the floors are anyways, dirt
floors.
And I was like, Dad, I think. He said, no, son. He said, you see, I'm not working for such and such, who's my boss. He said, I'm not working for this, who's my boss. He said, what I want you to understand is, he said, I'm working as unto God because God watches everything I do, everywhere I go, and every action that I take. And he said, so that's why I do this. That's why I do that. And the people that would get mad that worked with my dad, and then when I worked there in the summertime, would get mad at me because I worked too hard. Would you slow down? You're making the rest of us look bad. It's like I'm just doing what I was asked to do.
It's amazing.
To the fullness of. And then, but see, the funny part about that is when people sit back and look, why are you different?
Yep.
And the question is, are you going to be able to answer that when that's asked of you?
Yeah.
Well,
So that reminds me of a quote I want to read. And I looked it up. It's by Martin Luther King Jr. It said, he's quoted, "If a man is called to be a street sweeper, he should sweep streets, even as Michelangelo painted, or Beethoven composed music, or Shakespeare wrote poetry. He should sweep streets so well that all the hosts of heaven and earth will pause to say, here lived a great street sweeper who did his job well."
Wow.
Yeah. That's good, right?
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
man.
good. That's good.
And I mean, that's the way we should approach. That's the way we should approach what we're
Everything.
doing. Yeah.
Everything.
I want to preface what I'm fixing to say. I'm a full supporter of the church today in that I don't think we should give up meeting on Sundays and Wednesdays and whatever days of the week you work. But I'm also a huge proponent of connect groups and life groups, and which in my mind are house churches, basically, right? I mean, it's the Acts 2 model, and I think we've so missed that. I think people are so much more enthralled with the big show, and where the connection happens is in a smaller setting, and I think that's why people feel so disconnected in churches. It doesn't have to be like a large mega church. You can have a church of 100 people and not feel like you fit or you belong or you have a place. And I think that's because there's not time on a Sunday morning or even a Wednesday night for real connection with somebody to go, other than, hey man, how was your week? It's been good. Or this happened. Okay, I'm going to pray for you. I'll see you next Sunday. Versus when you sit down around a table and you're breaking bread and you have a moment to talk and you get comfortable enough to go, man, I'm going through this. Or I don't know how to handle this. What does the word say about this? You've been in this longer than I have, or you're more mature spiritually than I am. What does the word say about this? Those types of things happen in small, intimate settings. And I think that's why it's so key that it's a both and mentality, right? We need the Sunday services for the equipping of the saints. And that's what the role of a Sunday service is in my brain. And then the rest of the time, again, the Acts 2 church met every day.
Mm-hmm.
It was every day. It wasn't once in a while. And to Robby's point, somebody had a hymn, somebody had a song, somebody had a scripture, somebody had a word, somebody had a prophecy. That was the function and flowing of the church, right? They went and got equipped, but in the house churches is where the actual ministry and discipleship happened. And I'll read Acts 2, 42-47. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and fellowship, to the breaking of bread and prayer. All believers were together and had everything in common. Every day, say every day.
Every day.
They continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts. So here's what I want to point out. Every day they met in the temple courts, but then they also met in their homes and broke bread together. So it's both and we miss that today. We're so consumed with our life outside of the four walls of the church. We're too busy to do anything the rest of the week. And it becomes this sacred, secular divide of, no, I do church stuff on Sundays. That's the only time I'm doing church stuff. I'm not going to do church stuff on Tuesday. I'm not going to the women's meeting on Tuesday night, or I'm not going to go to Connect Group at Jeremy's house on Sunday afternoon because I already did church Sunday morning.
Don't show up. We ain't having one.
Don't get crazy. We're not going to do both. And that's where that divide has really become more pronounced and prominent than it ever has before, is we're going, no, those two things are separate. And we know people in business, right, that I've literally heard them say out of their mouth, well, I don't run my business that way. That's different. That's separate. It's not. And if you think it is, then you don't know what Scripture is even about. There's no division there. And if you think there's a division there, then you have Scripture completely wrong.
The world's put division there.
No, for sure it has.
I think the church has too, though.
Well, yeah.
I think that the church is responsible for a lot of it, because we don't. So I'm with you, Brian. I'm not saying that we should, scrap the Western church and the way the Western church does church and not have the big meeting. I'm not saying that, but I do think that I would love to see a cultural shift to where the church is really intentional about letting people know their responsibility that they have to allow God's glory to come through them in whatever they do,
100%,
Monday through Saturday. And we help them understand, look, church shouldn't be, it's almost treated like a triage. It's like people who are coming to church on Sunday, they're coming there because, and it's a defeated mentality. It's like,
right.
If y'all are out there and you've been beat up this week and, you're living paycheck to paycheck and you're blah, 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 whatever, all those things. I'm not minimizing those, but I'm just saying that it's almost like there's a lot of messages out there that are not helping you to become an overcomer.
100%.
They're having you come in and they're
it's a hospital for the sick.
pain.
See, I was just going to say the same thing, and I don't mean this mean to anybody who uses that phrase, but just saying that gives the mentality picture to somebody
defeated
of okay, you're coming in broken, busted, disgusted, and you have failed in essence. Because. I mean, if I go to jump over the creek and I miss and I bust my tail and break my leg or something like that, well, I failed at that attempt and now I'm going to the hospital to get fixed to get out. So I'm just using a egregious thing, but that's the kind of mentality we think, because when we think of a hospital, you don't go to the hospital when you're feeling good.
Yeah.
You go to the hospital because everything's wrong. Something's wrong. Something's going on. And so using that statement is, while it is a hospital, it shouldn't be necessarily framed as the big church is, that's all it is a hospital. That's not really, that's not it. And I wanted, when I was listening to you two talking, I was thinking about something that you had said the last episode. when you were going through that dark time 4 years ago, there was 3 people that you told your wife to call. Tell them, don't call me. Don't pick up the phone. Just pray.
Mhm.
Those 3 people, I mean, I would dare to say is people that you had relationship with and that you would walk through a lot of things with that you could trust.
For sure. One of them was my son.
So in that, if all you're doing is going to the hospital every week, you're sitting on one side of the auditorium, there's everybody else sitting everywhere else. How are you supposed to find that person to call in the midst of, you know what I mean? That person that how are you supposed to build that relationship if you're just going in to the point of small groups and different things like that? Because I'll be honest with you, when I first heard about small groups, I'm like, well, that's dumb. What do we need that for? We got church. I don't need no small group. But then I started going to small group, and I was like, oh, okay. And some of the people, then when we became small group leaders, some of those very people are still so dear and precious to our hearts because we were able
because you walked through some stuff with them in that season, right?
Walk through and watch God change their lives. Nothing we did. It was watch God change their lives, and to when you see them come into church even today, and that face is completely changed in the faces you saw when they first came, when you first met them. It's like, man, God, that's cool.
And again, it's not to minimize the Big C Church. I want to make sure I reiterate that multiple times. But Jovita Shepherd, do y'all remember Jovita that came and sang worship sometimes at the church? You know, and I love her. She has one of the purest hearts for worship that I've ever seen. And she said this one night after she sang at Overflow, I think. She said, so many people who lead worship from a place of performance. She said, I don't care what you think about my worship. She said, I'm not performing for you. She said, you just happen to be in the room when I'm worshiping my Savior. And I'm like, man, that is such a different mindset. It's not the smoke. It's not the lights. It's not the, I've got to be on perfect pitch and the band's got to be perfect. I'm coming to a place where I'm just worshiping Him and you just happen to be seeing it. And this is the honest God's truth. I don't worship the Lord any different on a Sunday morning sitting on the front row of church than I do in my bathroom. And my wife will attest to that. There are times when, I am bawling and my hands are raised in the air and I am singing, snotting just as ugly as I can cry. And it wouldn't be pleasing worship to anybody other than Jesus. And it's the same thing that I do on a Sunday morning because my worship doesn't change based on the environment that I'm in. And that's the mindset and the mentality, again, of that divide, right? We're going to go in on Sunday mornings and, everybody's watching. I got to put my hand up at the right time, and I got to stand at the right time, and I got to kneel at the right time, and I got to shed a tear at the right time. And if that's the mindset, you've missed it.
You're performing.
You're performing.
And it goes back to the sermon I preached at church about the church of Sardis.
Mm-hmm.
A church that had everything. They had the lights, they had the camera, they had the LED screens. They were blowing up. They were mega church in the day. But Jesus said, you're dead. You're dead on the inside. I watch American Idol. Let me tell you something. When Jordan was singing The Goodness of God,
he was good.
Yeah, I was sitting there in my living room.
You felt it.
I was snotting, hands up in the air.
I'm just telling you, the anointing of God was on him.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that should be the exact same way as in church. It shouldn't be a performance. It was just like, man, God, you are so good. You are so good. To your point. That it should, because I can't lie because I'm not smart enough to be fully honest. I never understood that.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean you've raised your hands at home? That's a little, do you really need to? All these different things. And then, God started doing a work in me. So what's the difference in your house than my house?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because your house should be my house. And I was like.
But it's a mindset that we've been taught.
True.
It's the Western church, and the way the Western church has been taught, we're looking at, to Robby's point, we're looking at a person on stage.
Yeah.
We're looking at a person that's elevated. We're looking at a person, and we're all focused on one person, as opposed to, it's just, yeah. Anyway,
and it's just a culture thing. We're not saying that every pastor up there is not a narcissist. We're not saying that, to the point of the Big C Church is very important. but it's the people. Why are you going to church to begin with? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah.
Are you going to get it your way like they do at Burger King and Subway? Your microwave, give me 30 minutes, a few songs, and I'm out. Appreciate you, check. Bible belt, or are you going to get a word from the Lord? Are you going to pull something from that preacher, from the worship? Are you acting in to be equipped to?
Even the mindset of, am I going in because I need to personally get filled back up? And listen, there are some weeks that has to happen, right?
Sure it is.
It's got to.
Or are we going with the mindset of, I'm going in to be taught how to be more effective in my walk so other people around me see my fruit? Even just the mindset shift of why we're going. Are you going because, Robby, you said it in your testimony, and I think each one of us in ours did it at one point as well. I was going to make mama happy, right? Whether that's my mama that gave birth to me or my wife, either way, right? I was going to make somebody happy, or going because I had to, or going to check that box, or going because if I go to church Sunday, if I go to church Wednesday, if I'm part of the choir, if I'm part of the men's group, then I'm doing everything I can. But if you're showing up dead and you're showing up just so you can get what you think you're owed, and you're approaching it as a hospital, and if you're in that season of you're not getting what you want, are we quitting going to church because we didn't get what we want when we were checking off all the boxes? I can say yes because I've been there, right? Versus I'm no longer going to check a box so God has to. I'm now going, so, hey, Lord, what you got for me today? What do you need to break off inside of me so I can be more effective this week with the people that I interact with? How can I be your light more to those people? If we change our approach, it starts with us. Individually, it starts with us. If everybody in your church, wherever you go, change their attitude and what they were coming in on Sunday, imagine what your service would be like.
Yeah.
100%.
You were saying earlier, Brian, about it's yes and, it's not either or.
Mm-hmm.
I heard about 3 years ago. So we lived in Georgia for a season. So we had a church in Georgia that we went to. And it was after we left, they started having what he called house churches. So he had community groups, small groups, whatever you want to call them. He had those while we were there. And he decided, though, that he wanted something a little bit different, and he wanted something that emulated the churches, the Acts church, if you will. He wanted something that emulated that more. And so he began, his goal was to have, I think, 200 house churches, which meant that somebody would become the facilitator, if you will, but they had someone who would facilitate and maybe read the word, but then people could ask questions, and somebody might sing, somebody might have a word of prophecy, what you read is what they were training them to do in these house churches. And people were freaking out because they're like, are you not afraid that somebody will stop coming to church and this becomes their little church? He goes, no. He goes, that's between them and God. He says, as a matter of fact, he said he had someone come up to him and said, look, because of my work, I can't do a small group at that time. He said, I can't do that and come to church on Sunday. And he said, okay. He goes, do a small group. He said, because that small group leader, he's going to be the one that's calling you. He's going to be the one that's praying for you. And he goes, it's not that I don't care. He said, but he said, the reality is I may not see you if you're not here on a Sunday. He said, but if you're not in that small group,
they'll know.
They're going to know.
100%.
And they're going to hold you accountable, and they're going to call you, and they're going to love on you, and all this other stuff that you need, you're going to get that there. So if you can only go to one, that's the one I want you to go to.
That's the right mindset, right? But I think out of fear, so many pastors, to exactly what you just said, go, well, they're going to probably start a church and they're going to draw my sheep away. And that's the wrong mindset. We're all part of the church.
It goes back to what Elder Jeff, had always, it's simple. When he made the statement, it's always held such a big impact to me. Are you building God's kingdom or are you building man's kingdom?
Yeah.
Because if you're building God's kingdom, then that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Building his kingdom the right way.
I had a friend who would ask pastors all the time. He said, "Do you have a kingdom church or a church kingdom?"
Yeah.
That's good. Wow.
And the reason that
Wow.
I've been so passionate about small groups for years and years and years is because listen, and I've received some amazing ministry in the Big C Church. Don't get me wrong. Some of the most crazy words of prophecy, some of the most on my face, not and can't move things have happened in a church service. Yeah, Jeremy too.
Speaking of Jeremy's first time.
So I'm not discounting that, but also some of the realest, rawest, most profound moments of ministry have happened at the table we're sitting at.
Yeah.
And they've happened at Robby's table, and they've happened at Jeremy's table, and they've happened at your table. Like that, there's just again, it's both and.
Yeah.
And it has, and for me, it has to be both. I need the moments around a table where, whether it's an hour or it's 15 minutes or it's 5 hours around a table, the conversation is different. It just changes, and it's a different level that you hit. There's a different level of vulnerability that happens. The vulnerability that happens inside the four walls of the church is oftentimes when the Holy Spirit uses a word of prophecy and a word of knowledge to speak to somebody, right? There's a vulnerability that hits and happens then. But the vulnerability that happens around the table is when Jeremy's comfortable enough to go, "Hey, I'm struggling with this. Can y'all pray for me? Or do you have some scripture that you can show me where I need to line this out and what I need to do with that?" It's a different thing. And I need both of those.
Can I give a secular, in essence,
Sure.
example of both and? At Logan's College, their athletic program, campus pastors and the athletic director, and they came up with the both and philosophy, which is you can be excellent at something. The football program, they want to be the very best football program that they can be. They want to train those football players to be All-Americans. They want to win a national championship. They want to do everything with excellence. But that doesn't mean that they have to sacrifice being a good man and a Christian and live a godly lifestyle to be that.
Right.
And their philosophy is both and. We can pursue excellence in the field while also pursuing God with excellence. So through what we're doing, using as a ministry tool, can minister to others as we are playing football and honoring God at the same time. And it's the same thing whether you're training to be a business leader, a nurse, psychologist, anything. You can be both and. You can be excellent at both.
Yep.
And it's the same. It's the same thing of what we're talking about here. To be excellent in that, but showing the love of Christ, because in doing that, you are showing God's love and God's favor in everything that you do.
But I would challenge to say that if you do the physical aspect of it without the spiritual, you will never be the best at the physical that you can be.
Correct. I believe,
right? So you can be the best project manager, you can be the best bus driver, you can be the best whatever you physically can be, but you're not being what He's called you to be without those fruit.
I see exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. Yep. So they have to be matched together to be what He's called you to be in that season of where you're at in your life. They have
otherwise
to be together.
It's empty.
Yeah, it's not fulfilled.
There's no fulfillment in it. That's why we see
your glass is half full. You can be positive all you want, but your glass is only half full. If you want it overflowing, you have to have the fruits evident in your life.
You've just perfectly served up my closing scripture.
Bam!
As this plane lands with 5 minutes to spare before Robby's 1 hour time.
Oh, wait, let's get it. Can we get down some rabbit holes real quick?
Matthew 5:13 and 14. You are salt of the earth. You're the light of the world, a city on a hill that cannot be hidden. You know what salt doesn't do? Doesn't do anything if it stays inside the shaker. You know what light doesn't do? If it's got a shade on it, it don't light nothing up. The problem is the deployment issue. We're not deployed correctly. So the church has been keeping its priest inside the building when what that's supposed to do is to quit them, to send them out because the world needs it in the field. The salt doesn't do anything if we don't get it out of the shaker.
That's good. And another thing I would say is don't wait for the church to send you. It's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Whether or not you feel like the church is doing that or not. Even a small group. There are some churches that may not have small groups. Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
Get your friends.
Get your friends and neighbors
That's
around
right.
the table and serve them up a meal. Tell them you're going to feed them. They'll come.
Iron sharpens iron.
You know, you can do that on your own.
How do you think I get John and Jeremy every week? I just
Right.
offer food.
I mean, it's not lying.
Oh, yeah.
Truth. I saw
But
it tonight.
we missed this last week.
Oh.
And it's really a shame that we did.
Oh.
But at the end of the day, it comes down to
Hard posture.
Hard posture.
Oh, that went south quick.
we have a tendency to do that so bad.
For
Like we
people
get there.
that have a little bit of musical ability, that was rough. Let's try that one more time.
Oh man.
Hard
that's
posture.
I was going really
I
bad
got
and
the
flat, and I
barbershop
wasn't
in there.
holding
and
it.
so-
Yeah.
oh man.
But
Anyway,
we I know we joke, but it is so true. What's your heart behind everything that you do?
yeah, it is.
The heart
Yeah.
behind it, because the Bible says what's inside is going to come out.
And Robby says, you got 60 seconds.
God bless y'all. We are two Baptists and a Mormon. Peace out.
You got 2 minutes. You don't even know.
Bam, bam. Robbie says time is.
Gosh, I love it.
So
That is so amazing.
Robbie's the one who we were having people over one night, and at 9:00 he said, "You ready for this to be over?" And I said, "I am." And he just started cutting off lights. He said, "All right, we'll see y'all later."
That's amazing.
Robbie's
Yeah.
going to start unplugging microphones in a minute.
In all seriousness, yeah, I think my challenge for you, if you've listened all the way to this point in the podcast, is remove the divide. Right, there is no divide between sacred and secular. If you feel like there is, then you're the problem.
Yeah.
Like, figure it out. There's not a divide. There should be zero difference in how you act and interact on Sunday and how you do on Monday. And if there is, stop it. Plain and simple.
Gosh, I love it.
That's
I
it.
love it how you say stop it, because there's just something about it when you
It's
say it. It's just
commanding.
like, stop it. I love that.
So that was episode 32, the sacred secular divide in the first century church versus the Western church. I think probably when we all first thought that, we thought that's probably not going to go together, but it actually does.
Yeah.
100%
Look at that.
go together.
Yeah,
Look at
I
that.
agree.
So, Robbie, thanks for being here again.
Thanks, Robbie.
Absolutely.
And thanks as always for listening to
Two Baptists
And a Mormon.
Walk into a Pentecostal Church. Like and subscribe everywhere you get your podcast.